Since the Trump election, we all seen how these caucasoids are now acting out a lot. And as I stated before, they're not acting out like this because they're going to be in a minority 20 years from now or 2040. I'm telling you, it has already happened. Nobody is just acting crazy because this is their future. They're acting like this because the future is now, ladies and gentlemen. Here's an article that just came out on Atlanta Black Star today, September 12th, 2017. The end of America's white majority is near. I'm saying it's here. It ain't near, it's here. What are the implications? It was a long time coming, but by every measure, America's white majority is coming to an end. What are the implications? Last year, data released by the U.S. Census Bureau, which is lying about the numbers. Like, these are the same people saying we've been 13% of the population for 40 plus years. They are clearly lying, just like they're lying about their majority. Found that the non-Hispanic white population was the only group to experience more deaths than births between July 2015 and July 2016. That's when they only had increased by 5,000 people. With Asians and Latinos experiencing the most growth, the robust non-white population growth more than making up the difference. So, to be honest with you, I think they're lying about everybody's number. You know, they're never going to tell black people the truth. Do not be shocked that when all of this is over, you're going to find out we've been the majority probably well over a century in America. Don't be shocked, because they want anybody to be larger in numbers than us. And that's the truth. White America is often called a majority white Christian nation, which is laughable. Founded for the benefit of said group, the United States is no longer dominated by that demographic. Along with Christians are nearly 70% of all Americans. White Christians are now only 43% of the population, due in no small measure to immigration and declines in religious affiliation. This drop is across the board, regardless of denomination. Even white evangelicals, the core of Trump supporters, 81% of whom supported him at the polls, are falling in numbers. Along with white mainline Protestants, amid white decline and an increase in Latino presence in the Catholic Church. The Latinos have always been big in the Catholic Church. That's really not news. There are other indicators of the demographic shift. In 2016, for the first time, the population under age 10 became minority white, with non-metropolitan areas remaining whiter, aging, and shrinking. And a number of states have become minority white, including California, Hawaii, Nevada, New Mexico, and Texas. Believe me, it's more than what they're telling us. It's more. Trust me. I even see how it has changed here in New Jersey. I can walk in any department store at any given time. They're not even the majority in the store anymore. So it has definitely changed. The Census Bureau reported that in 2011, a majority of babies born under 1 in the United States were non-white. A majority of American children will be black or brown by 2020. That's only less than 3 years off from now, which already the case in the U.S., K through 12 public school systems, some institutions of higher learning, such as Harvard University, have responded to the new reality by admitting its first majority non-white freshman class. This is what I'm telling you, y'all. This shift has long happened. They are just too petrified to tell you because they fear retribution. They fear the backlash on them for all the rotten shit they've done to everybody up in this motherfucker. The reality of the inevitable white minority has many implications in terms of political and economic power dynamics. White backlash, that's what they're fearing. This is why they're never going to tell you the full truth. And policies promulgated by white nationalists, politicians who accept to emulate apartheid era South Africa and undermine the rights and powers of an emerging dark majority. It's only a temporary means. This ain't by no means going to last forever, because as they get smaller and smaller and smaller, they will not have the hold on the population. And that is really when people are going to turn on them big time. They're about to take a backlash on a global scale. It's going to be a lot of people turning on them. This is why they're trying to keep control over what gets reported from the U.S. Census. But don't believe the hype. I'm telling you, they've been lying since they've been on this soil about the population sizes in this country. Okay. The election of Donald Trump to the highest office in the land was a primary example of a collective white meltdown, or at least among the numerical majority of whites who voted for him. Believe me, these people are no longer the majority. They haven't been for quite some time. An existential crisis of white supremacy and privilege in progress. Make America Great Again was interpreted by some as a clarion call for white skin solidarity, a return to the pre-civil rights era days, when the dominance of white men was unquestioned. Black people were invisible to the dominant society and regulated to the back of the bus. Yeah, I remember that. The back of the bus days, ladies and gentlemen. That's what they want to go back to. But it's not, ultimately, it's not going to be enough for them to even pull this shit off. The days for which some white people long, in which everyone around them look like them, is gone. First of all, America has never been an all-white country. I don't know why that's even being spoken. You had people of color in the country when these Europeans got off the ship. So America, in no part of its history, has ever been all white. That is nothing but a wet dream to these people. That has never happened and never will happen. It never will happen, ever. Two surveys found that nearly 40% of Americans believe newcomers threaten traditional American customs and values, while nearly 1/3 of white people said the idea of America, where most people are not white, bothers them. Tough shit. Conservative whites place their faith in Trump as the great white hope, and great white hopes have always flopped all throughout history. The last chance to save white conservative Christians from the country's demographic and cultural changes, which they view as American decline. No, America has been in decline from the time of slavery all the way up until now. You've always been in a decline. Always. In order to maintain white power and the white way of life, I don't want no part of it. The feeding of white paranoia is reflected in concrete policies such as a doubling down on law and order. That's all they got. Seriously, ladies and gentlemen, that's all they got. That's all they got. They really don't have anything else. And like I said, as their numbers keep falling, you're going to see the faces of the police officers changing, because how do you hold law enforcement in place if you don't have enough people in your group to cover those jobs? And that's being seen all over America already. You're seeing a slow, gradual shift where among the drug addicts, they are unemployable. You can't employ these junkies. This is why now you're hearing them talking about changing. I'm sitting in my kitchen, y'all, and that was my oven. I'm cooking my dinner as I'm doing this video, so excuse the background noise there. Their junkies are unemployable. So they got one of two things: hire the black and brown people to take those spots, or try to use the immigrants, but ultimately the immigrants are not going to work, because you're going to have all kinds of language barriers and all types of issues with the immigrants. So the jobs are going to gradually become more black and brown. But they run everything in this country like a plantation. So quite naturally, they want to keep themselves in all the top spots, and then everybody else below, it's okay for them to be people of color. But even that's going to change. They are not going to be able to hold on to this system if they are not reproducing. Okay? There is no future without babies. I mean, you can criticize black people all you want about us having babies and this and that. There is no future, white people, without babies. None. Okay, let's get back to the article. Immigration policies are motivated by white supremacist desire to maintain a white majority population in the United States, which they don't have. With a Muslim immigration ban, which I don't know if any of you know, but the ban was approved by the Supreme Court. See, this is all being done out of fear. A border wall to stop undocumented Latino immigrants, and into President Obama's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals DACA program. U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who announced the decision by the Trump administration to appeal DACA, is a champion. They're talking about the Eugenics Migration Act of 1924, the law which was designed by white supremacists to favor immigrants of Northern and Western European and keep Italians and Jews out of the country. Yeah, whatever. I think you failed at that. They're here. Italians are here, and so are Jews. Was good for America, according to Sessions. And ladies and gentlemen, also notice the infighting among them has gotten more fierce, and it's gotten worse. And it's going to continue to fight. They're going to have a hard time fighting from within and fighting everybody else in this country. That's another thing that is just going to destroy them ultimately. Too much fighting. Okay, in the country originally designed for the benefit of whites, a demographic transformation of America was significant policy implications from the standing point of racial justice, economic empowerment, political power, and coalition building. In an increasingly black and brown America, it is expected that certain red states, such as North Carolina, Arizona, Georgia, and Texas, will eventually turn blue. Under the New South, where whites are heavily Republican, but large numbers of black people are returning, and Latino and Asian people are moving in, registering more non-white voters, women's, and millennials could help progressives break the white conservative hold on the former Confederacy. Well, their hold is going to be broken in every industry. That's just inevitable. Options available to white leaders to stem the rising tide of color and delay or roll back these demographic shifts include forming a perpetual one-party state through draconian voter suppression, mass deportation and incarceration, revoking the 14th Amendment, birthright, citizenship, racial gerrymandering, the U.S. Senate by returning to elections by state legislator. All these things are going to fail. I mean, they can keep trying all this stuff. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, they are throwing the kitchen sink. And at the end of the day, if your ass ain't reproducing, it's all going to fail. Their grip on America is temporary. These people never was promised anything but their temporary 6,000-year rise. Anything beyond that was never promised to them. Others believe the Census Bureau statistics misled the public about the ramifications of America's changing demography, and with progressive anticipating, as Richard Alba wrote, The American Prospect. Alba argues for a more nuanced view and believes the power of the white majority is likely to persist due to factors including assimilation of groups such as multicultural Americans into whiteness. No, it won't continue. It won't continue. This is just them dreaming up a future that's just not going to happen. Again, if you don't have babies, you can't control nothing. And that's just the way it is. I mean, I think they are just in this dream world and don't realize what they're involved with. They just simply can't control. You simply ain't going to be in control of all the populations if you're this little tiny segment in America. This is why they keep playing head games with the numbers. I mean, the stupid ones are in your face talking about you're 13% of the population. I would like to challenge you to go back and read how long you've been saying that to black people. You've been saying that for decades. So the only way that would be possible at this time if the black population have flatlined or stopped reproducing, and none of the above has happened. Okay, none of the above has happened to the black community. A fluid concept which change over time, and the certainty of how whites will continue to maintain their diminished advantages. The notion of black people taking over things has been a source of white angst for centuries, whether the fear of slave rebellions in the South, efforts by the Jim Crow regime to suppress black power and maintain the racial integrity of white people, or the conservative white reaction to the first black president. For the first time, America is forced to consider what it means to live in a nation where white people are in the minority, and the implications for racial power dynamics, conflict, and cooperation. Black people, just sit back, grab the popcorn. There is nothing for us to do. These people are going to fall no matter how you look at it. They have no chance of turning around anything as long as they're not reproducing. And even their scientists say, even if they start having a bunch of babies now, the other groups are so far ahead, they would never, ever be able to catch up. Period. And their scientists also said, once your birth rate drop to a certain level, there is no coming back from that. None. So they can stay in their little dream world. I say, black people, let's build up our community and put ourselves first. And white people, bye-bye. Please leave your comment and subscribe. And if you can, to my channel. And please don't forget to give a donation towards the Hurricane Irma fundraiser for Florida. Peace, family.